chaos ensued among the ship crews and dock workmen, as they scrambled to get away from danger. However, as quickly and violently as the marrow burst out of the harbor depths, they faced an even more horrifying and harrowing ordeal themselves. A tall, silent, and menacingly looking figure in plate armor entered the scene from the nearby tavern. His feet barely even touching the ground, he slowly walked towards the abyssal sea dwellers. With each step, he evoked powerful lightning and thunder magic, decimating the enemy's ranks. A few that managed to reach him got quickly zapped and slain in return. Their guttural yelps and screams filled the evening air with blood-chilling cacophony of sounds. Seeing their companions in front getting struck down by searing bolts of lightning and deafening thunder waves, a few marrow in the back that were still alive quickly slid back into the harbor waters, running for their lives. With the onslaught suddenly coming to a complete halt, everyone stood in shock, dumbfounded and unable to move. The mysterious storm priest slowly approached the edge of the docks, looked down into the murky harbor waters, and let out the last lightning bolt out of his staff. He slayed the wounded straggler hiding behind the cargo ship. After a few more seconds, he elegantly turned around, and without a single word, calmly walked back into the tavern. Alright everybody, this is MinMax Munchkin again with another video. Today we have something a little bit different at our hands. It's a thematic build which has been fairly optimized, but not like to the max. Still really good build which you can just use in any campaign that you want. So yeah, let's just quickly go over what this build is, how to actually build it, and how to actually approach leveling it up. So first of all, we are starting with our trusty half-elf, and the half-elf is the class to take in these types of scenarios where you want to build just like something that's going to be equally good in spellcasting, equally good in like meal. Well, not equally, but like fairly good at surviving and casting spells. Most of the spellcasters single class are glass cannons. This one, not so much. Okay, let's go over the features. Obviously, half-elf get all the goodies, and they are legitimately one of the most powerful races, period, in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. They have it all, and they also have, due to the fact that they have it all, you can manipulate the stats and abilities to fit your needs. So, due to the fact that we are combining two classes here with the race, the key features and spells are heavy armor and shields proficiencies from Cleric, Channel Divinity, Destructive Wrath, obviously 1 times per short rest, Tempestuous Magic from Sorcerer, Front of Magic, Sorcery points, always good to have, Heightened and Careful Meta Magics, the 2 primary ones that you should have, in my opinion. And then finally the 2 feats that encompass the thematic build, the thematic component, the thematic flavor, and also help mechanically to varying extent. Defining characteristics, obviously, once again, it's a mechanical and a role-playing thematic synergy. It's a superb tier 1 and 2 damage dealer. It kind of balances itself out evenly in tier 3. And then completely balances out with the rest of the party at tier 4. Still, even up until 20th level, it's just as good as any other spellcaster out there that you can build yourself. It's a full multi-class spellcasting character. So we are combining Cleric, which is a full caster, Sorcerer, which is a full caster. So you get a 20th level multi-class build, which has like all the spell slots that you will ever need like in your career. And finally, it has decent action economy. It has a fairly a good amount of options for bonus action, something to do at bonus action, decent reaction options, and obviously a lot of options on your action and movement. Unfortunately, clerics are wisdom based spellcasters, sorcerers are charisma based, so due to that fact you are going to experience some MAD issues. MAD stands for multiple ability dependencies. Not a lot, because the build is actually not focusing on cleric a lot, but if you decide to do it a bit differently, which we are going to cover at the end of the video, there are going to be some issues. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. That said, overall, due to the fact that you are going to rely a lot on the channel divinity, which is a level 2 cleric feature, you have a sort of balanced short long rest dependencies. Obviously all of your sorcerers features are long rest dependent, but your short rest channel divinity is really going to come out very useful, especially in tier 1 and 2. So yeah, it's going to balance out your long rest dependent resources. Now half elves, we already covered that. Let me just close all of these unnecessary tabs. There we go. We already covered that. Now Acolyte background, obviously I think thematically Acolyte fits fairly well. You can always pick Sailor. I mean, Pirate doesn't really work with a priest type of build, although you can be a pirate. I mean, historically there have been priest pirates, so whatever you want, it's up to your choice. But I think Acolyte fits the best. It kind of skill proficiencies work fairly well with the theme. You know 2 additional languages, and your equipment is thematically matching with the theme of your overall build and your character. And also the Shelter of the Faithful can be a useful feature in campaigns that have a lot of religious aspects to their storyline. Now Storm Sorcerer, we are going to start with the first level of Sorcerer. Yes, we are going to have a little bit less hit points, but I really think the Constitution save proficiency the sorcerers get at the first level is something that you will need for the remainder of your career, which is one of the reasons why I picked Sorcerer for first level. And obviously you will get 4 cantrips and 2 spells known right off the bat. And Sorcerer's Origin, let's not forget about that. Storm Sorcerer, you get the Tempestuous Magic at the first level, which right off the bat is going to increase your survivability, because you're going to be able to just move away from your opponents without provoking opportunity attacks. So yeah, I mean, first level feature really good to have from first level to level 20. Wind Speaker, additional language. I mean, it's a kind of flavorful ribbon ability, but knowing Primordial, which is like kind of elemental type of language, further fits the theme, obviously, which is why we picked the Storm Sorcery bloodline. Now, Font of Magic is you get this at a second level. These are basically your sorcery points. As you level up, you get more. Your sorcerer level equals your number of sorcery points. You can exchange these for spell slots, or you can burn spell slots to get more sorcery points, which you will use for meta magics. Now, meta magics, in my opinion, heightened is the one you should have mandatorily. This is a mandatory meta magic, in my opinion, because you are going to cast a lot of spells that require saving throws, and you want to spend 3 sorcery points to give disadvantage, especially to the boss fights where you really want the boss to take the max damage from your spells. I think careful is also very, very important in this build, because you're going to be engaging in medium to close range distances, and you are going to be close to your allies, and you will often have to you'll be forced to cast spells on that are going to like reach your allies and you want to shield them from the full effects of your damage, you don't want to lightning bolt your paladin for 48 points of lightning damage. That's why careful is also really critical in this build. Now the other three, you can pick whatever. I would pick Empowered because it just further deepens your blaster caster lightning thunder thematic build. But if you are playing in a campaign with a lot of intrigue, political, social encounters, and for some reason you pick this build, I don't know why would you do that, but if you have your reasons, I'm not judging. Subtle can be good, obviously, and Twinned, always good, heightened, always good meta magic to have, regardless of your build you choose. I would maybe also add Quickened, but it's not. It's kind of maybe a bit better than Subtle, at least thematically, but yeah, it's not mandatory. So yeah, there's that. 4 ability score increases for at level 4, 8, 12, and 16. 2 of those will be used for feats, at least that's how I would use it. And 2 will be used to increase your charisma, max it to 20. Now, Heart of the Storm, your Storm sorcery features. Obviously, Heart of the Storm, you are dealing additional lightning damage every time you cast lightning or thunder spells. Storm Guide is a situational, niche used feature, but there are some utility uses to this feature as well. Storm's Fury is a really good feature on its own. Unfortunately, you get it fairly late. Still, any feature that gives me the ability to deal additional damage, especially the feature that uses my reaction, it's the feature that I want to have, because I always build my characters that have something to do on their action, bonus action, movement, and reaction. So yeah, this is a good feature. Unfortunately, very high level. That's why it's not fully read. Wind Soul, again, very good feature if you read it on its own. Unfortunately, it's your capstone ability. It's the feature that you're going to get at level 20. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be probably ever going to be able to use it unless you play a level 20 campaign. In that case, you are a flying apparition of thunder and Thor's power and Zeus's wrath, which just zaps everybody around and flies and delivers death. Yeah, so that's it. Now, a Tempest Cleric, 2 levels of Tempest Cleric. Obviously, we gain martial weapons and heavy armor. Primarily, we are interested in heavy armor here. Martial weapons, I mean, you can kind of build your character to look exactly like Thor from like Marvel, obviously, comic series and Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you want, you can just pick like a Warhammer and then you just look like Thor. Martial weapons are not going to be that useful to you, but it's always need to be able to do something to at least have some capability that doesn't rely on your spellcasting potential. So Wrath of the Storm is a very potent, very powerful low-level feature. Unfortunately, it doesn't scale as you level up. At level 1 and at level 20 it deals 2d8 lightning damage, and obviously if you've ever played D&D, you know as you level up, the creatures and the monsters that you encounter have progressively more hit points, and the ability to do 2d8 lightning or thunder damage gets negligible. But still, something to do with your reaction if you don't have anything else. It's always good to be able to do something. So yeah, there's that. Channel Divinity, obviously the main selling point of the Tempest Cleric. The ability to maximize any of your lightning or thunder damage damage rolls. So even if you just attack with your Shocking Grasp, even if you just use your Wrath of the Storm feature and you roll 2d8 lightning or thunder damage as your reaction, any lightning or thunder damage roll, you can max it using your Channel Divinity once per short rest. Later on we are going to talk about the alternative build for lower level campaigns. Also you have that stock Cleric Destroy Undead Channel Divinity, which is really not going to be that useful too, because it's only like a half challenge rating creatures that it can affect. So maybe at very low levels, if you encounter some like skeletons and zombies, it can be useful, but later on I don't know, like you're never going to be able to use it. So yeah, Destroy Undead, Turn Undead, there's that. Feats, obviously Warcaster and Elemental Adept. Elemental Adept thematically fits really well. You pick lightning damage. I would pick lightning because there are better lightning spells at higher levels of your sorcerer than there are thunder. You ignore resistance to lightning damage rolls. And addition, when you roll damage, when you just roll basic damage, any 1 on the damage die is treated as a 2. So it kind of indirectly increases your damage output a little bit. I didn't calculate how much because there are too many factors, the amount of dice and the dice type, but let's just say 1 to 4 damage increase depending on your spell level and whatnot. So yeah, there's that. Now onto the spells. Spells, in my opinion, is where this build is like, it's the primary focus of this build. Now cleric cantrips and cleric spells, obviously you will pick guidance. It's the best non-combat buffing cantrip you can get. Basically you spam it on yourself or your allies, and every time any of you that have guidance on themselves make ability check, which can be any skill check that uses any ability, you add the 1d4, which is why this cantrip is one of the best cantrips, top 3 in my book. Light is always good to have when it's dark, even if you have dark vision. In darkness you have disadvantage on perception checks, so light is always good to have, especially if you have allies that don't have dark vision at all. Now Spare the Dying, you are a cleric. You are kind of expected to keep people alive because it's one of those things that's always associated with any cleric in any party. So yeah, pick Spare the Dying cantrip because people are going to hate you if you don't. So Shocking Grasp, we are moving on to the Sorcerer. Shocking Grasp, obviously thematically it's the one to take. It's probably the best cantrip to take. There are several cantrips that deal lightning and thunder damage. This one is the best. It's a meal, it's a touch, so meal spell attack that gets advantage if the target is wearing metal armor. On a hit it deals lightning damage, and it progressively gets better as you level up, as does any other cantrip that deals damage. You can combine it with your channel divinities, you can combine it with your other features. It's a neat cantrip to have. Now lightning Lure is another lightning cantrip that you can have. It's a bit better if you take a twinned meta magic because you can target 2 creatures instead of just 1. They make a strength save. If they fail, they take damage and they get pulled 10 feet closer to you. So yeah, I think this is like good thing to have if you want to manipulate the positioning of your enemies on the battlefield over the course of the fight. So yeah, there's that. Thunderclap, the last thematically matching cantrip you can take. Obviously deals thunder damage, it says the name. Deals a little bit less damage, but it deals damage all around you. So 5 feet around you, every creature that's around you gets affected by this cantrip. Again, it's a thunder damage cantrip, so we are keeping in tune with the theme of the build. The last 3 cantrips that you will learn, you can learn. My recommendations are Minor Illusion, which is the best cantrip, like one of the most versatile cantrips that's solely dependent on your imagination and what type of stuff the DM will let you do with this seemingly innocent cantrip on its own. Obviously Gust is the cantrip that fits thematically. You make these like storm, like minor stormy effects, kind of. You manipulate air and stuff like that. Prestidigitation, Mage Hand. Prestidigitation is very very versatile. And Mage Hand can be used just like to manipulate some smaller, lighter physical objects around you. That's what I would take. Obviously, a lot of good cantrips to choose from. You can take Mending, you can take Message, you can take Friends, whatever you want. Level 1, we are moving to Cleric Spells. Obviously, Fog Cloud and Thunder Wave. We get these spells for free. Now, if you just like consider the fact that these spells require saves, Thunder Wave, for example, your Wisdom is 14, so your DC right off the bat is 1 lower than your Charisma. Later on, when you get ability score increases, your Wisdom is going to remain the same for the remainder of your career, unless of course you opt to not take feats and just straight increase your ability scores. In that case, yeah, your Wisdom can get to like you can increase your Wisdom. But not by much. It's going to be like capped by 18. So yeah, all of your Cleric Spells save DCs are going to be lower. So all of the Cleric Spells that require saving throws, the monsters that you target with those are going to have better odds of actually saving those throws, which is why Thunder Wave, one of those Cleric Spells that that deals like damage depending on the save, is not going to be that useful. Fog Cloud is like, yeah, thematically okay, but very situationally useful. Now the four spells that you can prepare, I think you should always have Bless, one of the best buffing spells in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I think you should always have at least one of these healing spells. In my opinion, Healing Word is better because it's a ranged healing spell, and you can never ever really out-heal the damage the monsters deal to you. And last but not least, I think you should have Detect Magic, because you are a cleric. You can cast it as a ritual spell to detect those magic traps, hidden magic items, and just magic items that are laying around you. Moving on to the Sorcerer, Shield. Obviously, the ability to shield yourself from attack rolls and increase your AC by 5 points is always good to have. Chromatic Orb, you can choose lightning or thunder damage type and deal 3d8, I think, 3d8 damage. Obviously, it scales up. Now, Witch Bolt, in this case, it's one of those spells that really synergizes well with the features and Channel Divinity of the Cleric of this build. It deals lightning damage due to the fact it's a D12. It really scales well with levels. Even with the 9th level spell slot, which is like ridiculous, you deal like 108 damage with this Witch Bolt if you use your Channel Divinity. So yeah, it scales really well, and I think this is the spell you should always have learned. Chromatic Orb, down the road you can exchange it for something else, but I think like at low levels Chromatic Orb is really good to have because it's a burst damage 3d8 which you can Channel Divinity for like 24, 32, even like 40 damage depending on the spell level that you cast it. Absorb Elements, obviously, as the name says itself, shields you from the elemental type of damage, including lightning, thunder, and cold, fire, whatever. You gain resistance to these damage types. Later on, you will get a resistance to thunder and lightning from your Storm Sorcerer's feature, but until that, you can shield yourself against all of these damage types, and also you can dish out some of that damage that you took back to the attacker. That's that. Now, Shatter level 2 and Hold Person and Misty Step. Shatter is a thunder damage type. It's a 10-foot radius AoE spell that, I mean, there's no better second level AoE spell, and with this particular build it becomes even better, like, because it can rival the damage output of Fireball. It can even exceed it, because if you cast it as a 3rd level, it deals 32 damage max with your Channel Divinity. Also the only problem with it, it's got less radius, so you can target less creatures with it. Still, it's really good, and I think you should always have it learned just in case, because it also kind of scales really well with level ups. Now, Hold Person is like you paralyze a creature, and paralyzed condition gives you advantage on all attack rolls and melee attack rolls. All hits are crits, and you can combine it for example, Shocking Grasp. Due to the fact it's a critical hit, every hit is a critical hit, so like 4d8, and then on top of that you use Channel Divinity, and then with a single Shocking Grasp and a single second level spell you deal 32 damage. Obviously you wasted a lot of resources, but it can be done. And don't forget, the creature remains paralyzed until it makes a saving throw, and due to the fact you're casting this with a Sorcerer, so Charisma, your spell DCs are going to be better as you level up. And don't forget, heightened meta magic gives disadvantage on the saving throws, so you can always combine all of those features with Hold Person to like deal some ridiculous damage, yourself and your party included too. Now, Misty Step is the spell you use to just get out of danger, or sometimes in lesser, like in some cases, you use it to get closer to your enemies. On level 3 is where you get your major damage improvements. Obviously, Lightning Bolt, you can target one, like it doesn't have a good area of effect, if you can even call it. It's like 100 feet long line with a 5 foot wide, so you cannot like target a lot of creatures with it in most situations. But like if you're fighting a boss and you use your Channel Divinity on this, you deal 48 damage. 6 times 8 is like 48. So that's a decent amount of lightning damage you deal right there. There's nothing to be ashamed of that. And obviously it scales up as you level up. Not really that well, because it's a d6 dice. Still, you can upcast it and deal even more. Now, I would consider thematically exchanging Misty Step for Thunder Step. Both do similar stuff. Thunder Step can teleport you farther, 3 times farther, but Thunder Step deals thunder damage, and we are a thunder lightning build. Like the name speaks for itself. Also, Fly Haste, probably not both, but one of those. Haste's like a good buffing spell. Fly is like a really good utility spell, which can also kind of be used in combat as well. Pick your poison, both are good, whatever. Level 4 is a Storm Sphere, and I really like this spell, particularly on this build, because it uses to cast it uses your action, but on all the subsequent turns use your bonus action to deal lightning damage with the ranged spell attacks. So for a full minute you can deal like 46 lightning damage every turn. With your bonus action, you have your action to deal to just cast your basic spells like Lightning Bolt, Chromatic Orb, whatever. But then with Storm Sphere, you have your spell which works on bonus action. So you basically kind of like double your damage or increase it significantly. And I really like it on this build particularly, because you can combine it with your Channel Divinities and your class features. Now, 4th level spells other than Storm Sphere, not much good stuff for you here. Greater Invis and Polymorph are always good to have, because, I mean, yeah, you can, this is like a combat buff, and Polymorph can also be a combat buff to yourself or your allies. I don't know, not necessary, but you can take them. Now, level 5, Hold Monster. The one to take, because you can paralyze any creature, humanoid or monster, non-humanoid, with this spell. When it's paralyzed, again, similar to Hold Person, all hits are crits, and all attack rolls have advantage, which can be ridiculous, especially with like your higher level cantrips, which deal like 6d8 damage by that point, which is yeah, ridiculous. Now, that said, Control Winds thematically makes sense. Objectively, it's not that good spell, but I would just take it for fun. And it kind of, you can use it because it does have a lot of utility. You can pause the video, read it yourself. If you think about it a little bit, like you can use this to counter fall damage. You can use this to like down the flying creatures that you're fighting, get them to the ground. And of course, you can use it as a defensive measure, the gusts, to give disadvantage on ranged weapon attacks. This is actually a fairly good spell, although kind of situation. But there are a lot of situations where you can use it. So yeah, Chain Lightning, you're probably the best spell for this type of build. Obviously, there's pretty much nothing better past this level for your build. This is like your best lightning slash thunder type of damage spell. It deals 10d8 lightning damage to 4 targets. If you use your channel divinity, it's like 80 damage to 4 targets at 6th level. If you upcast it, you can target like 1 additional target for each level above 6th. Yeah, I mean, this has potential to do some ridiculous stuff, depending on the situation. Again, if you just happen to be fighting 4 enemies that you know have at least 70-80 health, you just cast this spell, use your channel divinity and kill them all. With just a single spell, which is ridiculous. Mass Suggestion can be even like more ridiculous because it's got a huge, it's got a decent range, but it's got a huge area of effect. And you can, not area of effect, like you can magical influence up to 12 creatures. And if they all fail a saving throw, you can just tell them, okay, go away. You don't want to fight like 12 creatures, you just tell them, go away. It actually happened, I'm not lying. I played in a one shot where a bard cast his spell and we just killed the main boss because he had no protectors, he had no creatures. The bard sent 12 creatures away. So yeah, take this spell, it's always good to have. Now, level 7 is the last level you will be able to take any kind of spell that fits thematically. It's the spell called Prismatic Spray, and it's not a solely thunder or lightning. Only one of, like, you basically cast 8 rays, and only one of those rays can be, well, even more can be. But there are 8 potential types of rays, and they get determined randomly. By rolling a d8. On the other hand, you can target 8 creatures, and to each creature you can deal like 10d6 damage. Obviously, with the lightning type of damage you can maximize it, deal 60. So yeah, I mean, this is a good spell. It kind of works similarly to Chain Lightning, but spreads the damage towards more creatures. Each creature gets damage less, but there are more creatures that gets affected. So yeah, it's kind of good. Whirlwind is a thematic build. Thematic type of spell. Again, situational, but there are a lot of situations where you will be able to use it. You can pause the video, read it yourself, and I think it's really funny when you can you can just hurl the creature 3d6 times 10 feet away from the whirlwind. You basically cast a tornado with this. Now, level 8 and level 9, there are no lightning or thunder spells, so you are kind of stuck with only the spells that you can pick from the rest. Earthquake kind of is the closest thing to your theme, and it's kind of like, I mean, this spell is really good because it can just like destroy towns and stuff like that, you know. So it damages structures, and it opens up these fissures, and then like the creatures need to be, yeah, I mean, this is a really powerful spell. So it lasts up to 1 minute. It's got a ridiculous range, so I think you should take it. Even though I didn't make it red, I think you should have it. So last level, 9th level spells. Unfortunately, the best AoE spell in the game deals fire and bludgeoning damage. It doesn't deal either lightning or thunder. It's the best spell you can have. It deals on average, on a failed saving throw, 140 damage. Half of that is fire, half of that is bludgeoning. I mean, you gotta take it. Even though it doesn't fit the theme with the lightning and thunder. If you reach like level 17 and onward with your sorcerer, you have to have the spell. and obviously Wish spell, which is the most powerful spell of all. With that said, let's quickly move on to the progression. This build comes online at level 3. If you are going to play it up until level 20, and if you're, especially if you are starting somewhere after level 10, I think you should like take first level Sorcerer, then 2 levels of Cleric, and then all the way to Sorcerer 18. And take the Warcaster feat before Elemental Adept, because the Storm Sphere is a concentration. It's a really good spell, 4th level spell, which uses your concentration, and you can damage creatures on your bonus action. So yeah, I think Warcaster is better to maintaining the Storm Sphere concentration. Elemental Adept is just like negates resistance to your lightning damage, and increases your lightning damage just a little bit, but that's why I would take it after the Warcaster. Obviously you get all of the features from the Sorcerer we just covered. Alternatively, the progression I suggest you to take, if you know the campaign is not going to last up until level 20, but somewhere up until level 15 or stuff like that, even lower, I would consider, instead of leaving Cleric only at level 2, I would consider actually bumping it up to level 6. Primarily and mainly because of the fact that you will be able to use your Channel Divinity. In other words, max out your lightning or thunder damage 2 times per short rest, and which is going to be more beneficial to you than potential meteor, swarm, or earthquake spells, which you're never going to reach. You're never going to be able to learn those spells ever, so it doesn't matter. That's what I would propose. And with that said, let's just quickly see what this build can do at level 20. Now, obviously, meteor, swarm. If the creatures fail their saving throws, you can do like on average 140 damage. However, with the chain lightning of level 8, you can target 6 creatures. You can deal 80 damage to each creature with your Channel Divinity, max damage, for a total of 480 damage total on to those 6 targets. This is pretty neat too, trust me. Storm Sphere, for example, at level 7, if you cast it at level 7, every round you are dealing 7d6 bonus action lightning damage for a full minute. Which is like, it averages somewhere around, let me see, 7 times, sometimes 3.5. It's like 25 damage on average. Not that much, but when you stack that damage on top of your other high level spells, you're dealing like 120 damage per round. So with your features, it can even go back, it can even go bigger. So yeah, I really like this. Obviously, Prismatic Spray, it can deal 60 damage with Yellow Ray. Chain Lightning deals at level 6, obviously less targets, again deals 80 damage to each target for a total of 320. Then as we get to those lower level spell slots, lower level characters, again your Storm Sphere at level 4 deals 46 bonus damage. Which, like, it's not a lot of damage, but when you consider like it's going to happen every round, and then on top of that you have your action and also your reaction, your movement speed, it's stacking up a heck ton of damage every round, trust me. Lightning Bolt, obviously at level 3 Lightning Bolt deals 48 lightning damage with your Channel Divinity. Starting from your character level 7, being able to deal 48 lightning damage once per short rest, guaranteed, is nothing to be ashamed of, trust me. And the fact that you will be able to cast those other spells like Shatter and those other AoE spells, yeah, I mean, you don't deal too much damage to one creature, but you are there to ensure that like a horde of creatures, like 5 to 10 creatures that surround you, get all dead in like 1 or 2 rounds. That's what you do with this build. This build does it really, really well. So yeah, with that said, I think this build is like really, really good. It's not like supremely optimized. There are things you can do to it that even make it even more ridiculous. But I wanted to make it keep the theme of thunder, storm, lightning, and just like the cleric that devotes himself to the aspect of the storm, to Zeus, to Thor, to stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to run with this theme, pick this build like word for word. You can do what you can just follow this what I outlined in this progression chart. And yeah, if you like this type of content, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button. Yeah, do all of that, and see you soon. Min-Max Munchkin God, and goodbye.